Eliminate the workplace excuse. That's what leaders do. This is the Career Blind Spot Podcast.
CBQ. Juan, what the hell is Severance about?
It's about a lot of things, and we're going to give spoilers in about 5 minutes. But if you haven't seen it, one, I love it, but also it's not everyone's cup of tea. But it's about a weird workplace environment. I'll keep it at that. The concept of innies and outies, I'll let you make the joke.
Not belly buttons.
Not belly buttons. Where you, or as an individuals, sever their mental, who they are when they go to work. And so, like, imagine you went to work and you showed up, but as soon as you stepped in to do the job, a different version of you actually did it. And then when it was done, you walk out. And so all you know is like, hey, I show up to work and now I'm home, but I don't have to deal with all the stress, all this other stuff.
Right. And
So-
all that innie knows, the one that's working inside,
Yes.
knows is about work. They don't
Yeah.
know anything about the personal life.
Yeah. Like, think of it like your computer, you have a separate file folder that has all the workplace trauma.
Yes.
And it's a slow burn, but I do recommend it. And I hope you don't get it spoiled. But like in about 5 minutes, we'll get into we just finished season 2. But I wanted to focus in on the innie work. So the part of the characters that are actually doing the work, they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah,
They're-
they
they're-
don't know what they're actually... So you see them on computers messing with numbers, but they don't actually know what it's doing. And when they're training the first employee, they're like, it's about feelings. Like, you feel when the numbers aren't right. And you're like, what the hell are they doing with these freaking numbers?
Yeah. And then it's a small team, and it's very like the aesthetics, the visuals of the show are very pleasing. But the main character has like 3 coworkers at the beginning.
Yes.
They kind of don't know what's going on either,
Right.
but they're doing it. And later in the show, you see versions, the Audi version, but they, it's a sci-fi show, drama show. But there's a manager or management, I should say. How would you describe management, Mr. Milicek and whatever that?
Miss
woman's-
Cobell.
Yeah, Cobell. Yeah. How would you just their characteristics?
So Miss Cobell makes me like very fearful every time she comes on the screen. They did such a good job with visually too, like making her look very stark. And so as soon as she comes on, you're just like, what's going to happen? And then Mr. Milchak, you're like, I feel like I'm constantly caught off guard with him being so serious, but so silly at the same time. Like his
It's
little...
like a Batman villain.
Yeah.
And so you have these 2 managers who they know what they're doing and what's going on, but they're very unsettling with how they treat the main characters and his coworkers. And it's like a team, like their department. They have, I don't know if they celebrate birthdays because they're technically not their regular self.
The anniversaries is what they celebrate instead of birthdays.
Yeah. And I wanted to bring this up because like the character, not just the characteristics, there's a different word, the caricatures. They're extreme.
Yes.
But Courtney said a different phrase on a different episode called Party Pumas, and they take that and run with it.
Yeah.
Like with the celebrate anniversaries. It's like, it's really weird. It's really bizarre. And I asked you before, but now you've had time to think about it. Like, how does it make you feel when you see management interact with these innies who kind of don't know what's going on?
It's so cringe. It's so cringe.
Why?
I don't know. It just makes me feel really uncomfortable when they're like, you've won a fruit party. And I'm like, what? Why?
And so, the concept of like, would you do it? I think you said you would, or at least there's part of it that would interest you.
I mean, if I didn't like my job and they were going to pay me a lot of money, yeah, I would.
To me, it's an easy, I mean, short of like, we need a lot of money to save someone's life now, I wouldn't do it. Like, do I want to get roofied? I know that's extreme, but like, I don't want, some people are like, I don't like to be out of control,
Right.
drinking or whatever. I'm like, I didn't feel that way. I can have some drinks or whatever. But that to me is the extreme. It's like pushing. So I was like, why would I want to do that? That's a indecent proposal. Like, I'll sleep with you for $1 million. It's just one night. Like, that's a different show. But so my point of like, or why do this? It's, it's timely, it's pop culture. But these caricatures, to me, it's like that's, I don't want to say spot on. They're not as crazy as it feels while you're watching it.
Right. You can totally see leaders that you've known
Yeah.
in these caricatures
Yeah.
of leadership.
And, we're going to get into spoilers here in a second, but the concept of, hey, actually, I'll say this again at the end of the podcast, but the call to action, like if you did have any version of yourself, if you could split and, there's the Audi version completely separate from your job, like would they agree? Like, I guess I'm saying is when you're at work, yes, you're you, but you're a different version of yourself. You prioritize all these things. And when push comes to shove, would you be on the same page when it comes to your values, your priorities, your friendships, your all these other things? And I think the short answer is like no. Like you've now lived a different life. It's
Right.
like a clone of yourself.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. And so we are just past the 5-minute mark. So if you don't want spoilers, you should pause this now and then come back after you've watched all of season 2.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could see when Mark was talking to himself, the Annie and the Audi in the birthing cabin, that they did not agree. And Mark on the inside did not trust Mark on the outside.
I agree, but also how long did that take? That was a great scene and dynamic of them being nice and going back and
Right.
forth. And then, yes, they did not agree. And also there was uncertainty.
Right.
Like there was even a threat. Like if I don't wake up at work, I'm going to do something. I forget what he said. But he threatened himself, but a different version of himself who hadn't factored in like, hey, if you go away, then
Yeah.
oh
the
yeah, I
next thing,
guess
if I don't wake up
you
at
dead.
I'm
like,
not going to save her.
and so that really jumped. Like the end of season 2, if those of you who already watched, like it gave us a lot of answers, a lot more questions as well. But that dynamic of like, I kind of wondered, I'm like, wait, if they win, what happens to these two relationships, just from romantic and there's so many stuff in the show that I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. Like
Yeah.
I have an idea with the goats, which I'm not going to say just for the fun of it.
Oh,
But the
mammalians.
the religious or spiritual aspect of the show or the founders, and the family aspect. And
Yeah.
like, I am like, in some ways clueless, but also like, oh, I get what they're doing. Not just from a show, but from a corporation. Like I understand, I'm fascinated with cults and I understand, maybe not understand. I think I understand the origins of it, but as again, why are we talking about this? With Mr. Milchek, he goes from, I don't know what his job was, that the little girl took it over,
Right.
and then she gets in trouble, but he becomes the manager. And I love the scenes with him being scolded about using big words.
Oh,
and then later
man.
on, what was the phrase? I'm going to start saying it.
Devour.
You devour feculence. That's it. When the
the big
C-suite
tall
guy,
yeah.
and it's like, here's this guy, like he is dedicated. He is the ultimate loyal employee, and these
He's
innies
ride or die for
are
that company.
just disrupting things, and all the
And he's
these
trying his best to keep it together
Yeah.
and not to be a better leader than Miss Cobell was. Because you see him when Mark isn't coming in, he's like, you give me your word that you're coming in tomorrow. He tries to coax him in, let me send
Yes.
you a car, instead of Miss Cobell, who was like, get here now.
Yeah. And and she's gone on, again, these are spoilers, guys, where she gets pushed out and we don't fully understand her, but there's a resentment where she never liked the organization Lumen, where they go back to her childhood or something. Then she
Right.
realized that they stole something from her, or she got credit for the technology that is
The Egans took credit for the
Yes.
actual Severance technology that
And-
she created.
And that's right. Courtney's like, what are we doing? What are we talking about? That, like those two characters, I'm like, yes, the innies and the outies and the drama and the romance, like that, I think we could talk about that. But looking at it from here, you have these people who are committed to this company, but for very different reasons. Like we've not
Yes.
got into why is Mr. Milchek the weirdo that he is.
Yeah.
When he tries to eliminate saying the big words, and then he verbally spits in the face when he tells the big C-suite guy to devour feculence. That means eat shit, people. And yet, so you have this diehard employee who he has boundaries of like, hey man, like I'm working my ass off here. It's not my fault X, Y, and Z happened. Oh, he has a great line because there is, we're doing spoilers now, but they interfere with the Audis, and there's all the variables there. But the company, it's like, imagine if your boss showed up at your house right now and you'd be like, hey, how's everything going? You'd be like, what are you doing here? Leave me
Right.
alone. It's almost like worse than an ex showing up at your
It's like
house.
when you're a kid and you see your teacher at the grocery store and you're like, you are here?
That I don't think is as bad as the teacher showing up to your house and saying,
That's true.
how are you here? And so they're interfering. And yet these are people with very different agendas. And that's what Mr. Milichik says. Like, it's not my job. It's not my responsibility what happens to these people outside
Side of work. It's
And
my
I
responsibility for them on the floor.
As a consultant, I was like, hell yeah,
Right?
Like, no, you're better. And even
That was so good.
the way he says it was very, because he's getting crapped on from these people, and yet there's like
the guy is scolding him
Yeah.
at the time, and he's like, "Listen, man, I'm not gonna apologize anymore. It's not my responsibility. It's yours."
Yeah, and if anything, I think they've split where Milichik is like gonna go down with the ship, which whatever ends up happening, because he's not going rogue. He's just saying like, treat me with respect, man. I'm working my butt off here,
Yeah.
and these guys are wild. But Cobell, she's out, and here she is trying to take it down.
Yeah.
And so to me, all a toxic employee is a high performer with too much time on their hands, or who's gone rogue.
Mhm.
She is the highest performer. She has now hacked Mark's brain, which that's my theory is that he's going to start showing back up because he picked the other woman and they stayed. But then his old version, or his Audi version, is going to show up inside and cause all sorts of trouble. But she directly influenced that. And I was like, yeah, you get, like, I think sometimes we think a toxic employee comes from the toxic store and it's just this one person who goes to all these companies. It's like, no, it's like being hangry. One person isn't always hangry. A hangry person is someone who didn't eat today. And a toxic employee is someone who like knows what they're doing and gets scorned. And really, Mr. Milichik could be a toxic employee, but he hasn't been. But they pushed her out. Really, she's a terrorist now. The organization. But that to me is why I wanted to talk about this.
Yeah, and I think Mr. Milchek has the best reason to be a toxic employee, because to me, becoming a toxic employee has a lot to do with you are a high performer and you're watching everybody else around you not perform at your level and still get accolades.
Yes. Oh yeah. The kind of throw this in, but what's the other the main characters?
Kelly?
No, the guy with the kids and his wife. He's great. We love him. Not the old guy.
No, I know. I can't remember his name.
Mark is the main guy.
Nurse.
Yeah,
Or the nurse from Nurse
but
Jackie.
I wouldn't say he's a loser on the outside, but he's depressed and he can't hold down a regular job. I don't actually. Would you say he's depressed? The Audi?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say so.
He couldn't get a job, and it's like, oh, so this like any version of him is now cooler to his Dylan. Thank you.
Dylan.
And see, Courtney's learning her role as the co-pilot. She looked it up. But to me, I'm like, oh, I think to your point, would you do this? Oh, a depressed person does this, would want to separate. It's doom scrolling to the extreme.
Right.
That Mark is mourning what he thinks is his deceased wife. I don't know with Helly and the whole thing, but like that concept of he ends up going and Dylan is, I wouldn't say he's a superstar, but he's pretty good at his job, right?
Right. And he has confidence. That's the thing.
Yes.
Outside of work, he has no confidence. That's why his wife falls for his innie.
Yes. And I think there's this, I don't want to say balance, but it's like his personal life is so bogged down. He's got kids, he's got to earn money. And when he does get jobs, he can't hold them down or do them well. And now he completely separates. And now there's this like there's a lot of like, hell yeah, Dylan. Like he is a very likable character as the innie version.
Yeah.
And so yeah, anyway, just you're watching it in a safe space, you're not a part of it, but I think I was like, this is how people act. Like they don't realize that they're severing themselves when they go to work, not in the exact same way, of course, but very similar.
Yes.
Like I think if all of a sudden your friend showed up at work and saw how you were, would they recognize you?
No, they would not. They'd be like, you're talking in front of people.
And I don't think I don't think that's a bad. Well, to me, that's different though for you, because to me, that's the happier version of you.
Yeah.
And so as leaders, I don't hope you're not like Mr. Yeah, actually, that's what I'm in here. I hope you're not like Mr. Milichek. Hope you're not like Mr. Cobell. But I bet you can relate a lot to them, especially with teams who really sometimes they signed up, but they didn't really commit to this. They got pushed in, and they have a really sound reason for like, why am I doing this? I have questions. I'm going to run the halls and all these things. So yeah, at the end of this, like if you could split and if you could really separate, work Courtney and Courtney, and they were to come together and make decisions, like how different and off would they be? Misaligned, not bad or wrong, but I think that's the thing that's humming in the back of my brain as I think of sci-fi left turns and or not left turns, curveballs that are going to be thrown because I they gave us a lot this last season.
Yeah.
I was really surprised.
I was really surprised. You know what's running around in the back of my head?
Hmm.
That we get rid of the phrase dance like no one's watching and we change it to dance with the dedication of Mr. Milchek.
Oh, that guy does dance really well.
I know.
Or what was-
Everyone should dance as Mr. Milchek dances.
I just heard a little long here, but you say that. I just heard someone talk about an embarrassing thing they shared on LinkedIn where they were getting their team to like all warm up or cool down, but by singing and like in their Zoom. And they all, what did they do? Somehow they mess it up and like they're the only one singing and everyone else is like muted or something. So all they're just watching her like go off for like 20, 30 seconds. And it's like dance like or sing like you're on mute. And it's like, yeah, but you're not. You're always being watched.
Right.
And well, I think that's a different can of worms. But all right, we'll see season 3 in 5 years. I don't know.
Probably.
All right, see you for the next one.
I make this show for leaders, those who don't point fingers, but point towards ways they can do better at work. My ask for listening is you share the show on social and or with other leaders, established or aspiring. Until then, no talent, no culture, no excuses.